out last Sunday from sitting up here and just seeing the branch full. It gave me an excitement, and it makes me long for the days where that's the normal, where each branch that we have is so full that we need to build more branches. But I'm just so thankful to be here today. And I felt like, last week, again, with that big of a crowd, the singing is just, it's at a different level. I can tell you, for me today, I felt the singing this morning was great. I mean, we have a little bit of a smaller crowd today, but I felt the spirit in even the singing this morning. And I hope you did as well. And we've just been blessed as a branch and, as a church recently. And as an example, just a couple weeks ago, we had the opportunity to have our vacation Bible school here. And I had the opportunity to lead our high school class. And the theme for that vacation Bible school that Sister Lisa was inspired with was a living sacrifice. And day one, we spent talking about that living sacrifice. And day two, we were in the second verse of the 12th chapter of Romans. And it begins with talking about not to be conformed to this world, but to be transformed. And I know in our class, we had a little fun activity where I had some items out on a table. And do you remember what they were, young people? Sister Maddie, what did you have? So she had a Bible. Sister Emma, what did you have? She had a cell phone. Brother Jonah, I think you had a TV remote, right? We had a soccer ball. What else was there? Some AirPods, some headphones, and I'm missing one. I think a mirror, right? I think that was all the objects. And we had a little fun activity where they tried to recreate those things out of Play-Doh and kind of conform that Play-Doh to the image of that item. And then I think Bella did the best. I think we all voted on, right? And she got a little prize. But the message in that, we then talked about which one of those items influenced them the most. So again, we had a mirror, thinking of beauty and the standards of how to present yourself in this world. We had the cell phone and social media and all those things, and the TV remote and the things that we might view, whether it be news or shows or whatever. And we had sports, and we had music, and then we had the Bible, right, Sister Maddie? And we all raised our hands and we said, which ones do we think influence us the most, help form who we are around us? And I'm not going to call anybody out, but I don't know if anybody mentioned the Bible when we were doing that. I think they did after we talked about it a little bit, but initially it was, I'm so ingrained with sports, or I am so influenced by social media. And they went on to explain how they're following different social media people that are quoting Bible verses and sharing songs. And we talked about the goodness in that too. But we talked about the influences that are around us. And that's the message that I have this morning, is about influence. And it's not if you're influenced, it's how you're influenced. Because the truth of the matter is that all of us are being influenced all the time. Anywhere you go in life, no matter what where you are, what you're consuming, what's around you, you are being influenced by one thing or another. And we had a silly example. We were at an amusement park this past Friday, and attached to that amusement park is a water park. And this is like the fifth or sixth time we've been there this year. We kind of have our routine of what we do, what rides we ride, what order, all that. And for my wife and I, maybe we're getting over it a little bit. Maybe we're a little bit glad summer's coming to an end. But part of the joy of our children is having them do their favorite things, right? And for especially my oldest daughter, in the water park, there's 3 main water slides. And we have kind of a routine. The younger one, she goes over and does the pool while we go do these 3 water slides. And we get over there, and the first line is longer than we had ever seen it. And I know because the last time we were there, it was long, and it was about a half an hour wait, and this was twice as long. So we're not going to do that one. We'll come back. We went to the next line, and they have a raft there, and all the rafts were gone. I was like, I don't know what's going on today. And it turned out that the 3rd ride was closed. And that was the problem. It was like, well, now instead of everybody spread out over 3, they're only over 2 rides. We're like, well, we'll just wait. And so we get to the top, we're asking the lifeguard, why is this ride closed? It's ruining our day. It was an 85-degree day. It was perfectly sunny. We all want to go down the water slides. She said they didn't have enough staff. But she said, I'll let you in on a little secret. At 4 o'clock, we're going to close this slide and open this slide. It's like, all right, now I know. It's about 45 minutes away. Let's go do some fun things. And we're going to go, and we're going to be first in line when this slide opens. We're going to get there at 4 o'clock. So, and Brother Bob was with me for all this, right, Brother Bob? We get there at 3:59, and there's a couple kids starting to grab some tubes, and we're like, we're going to get it. We're going to go and be front of the line. And there's a worker there, and he's telling everybody, this ride is closed. Put the tubes back. The ride's closed. Don't get in line. You're wasting your time. It's going to be closed. And my daughters look at me and they're upset, and I'm like, no, trust me. We're going to go. We're going to get in line, because he doesn't know. I know the inside secret, right? We're going to get in line, and we're going to be first when this ride opens. And so we just ignore him. We walk past. All the other kids started putting their tubes back, and they're giving up. And they see me go and get in line, and all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe this guy knows something. So then they all start picking up their tubes, and they come and follow us, right, Brother Bob? We get to the front of the line, and I turn around. Every tube they had there was taken, and the line was as long as it could be. And I said to Brother Bob, look how easily these people are influenced. They don't even know what the truth is. They just saw one person get in a line, and now there's a line as long as you can see. I hope I'm right, was what I thought in that moment. Otherwise, I just led all these people astray. And it turns out we were right away to, 15 minutes, and the ride opened, and truth was, we weren't first, we were second, because some kids ran past us, and they were like, we're going to be the first in line. And it was exciting for that moment. But I looked at Brother Bob and said, look how easily these people are influenced. And what was your answer, Brother Bob? There's probably a sermon in this. And it was like, you're probably right, Brother Bob. There is a sermon in this. And I was reading, and I was reading something over the last day or two, and I was like, yeah, here's the sermon. Here's the connection the Lord made. And it's about how easily it is to be influenced. Not knowing the truth, not knowing what the truth is going to be. I mean, really, who should they have listened to? Some random guy in a swimsuit, or the worker with the clipboard and the badge and the whistle and all of that? They probably should have listened to him, but they saw the line form and they said, I'm going to follow that guy, and we're going to see what happens there. And there's an example in the scriptures, there's lots of examples in the scriptures of people being so easily influenced. And we've been going through the book of Helaman in our MBA class, and many accounts of the Book of Mormon. There's just cycles, and even in the Old Testament, you see it as well with Israel of they're doing good, some little thing happens, everybody gets influenced one way, and all of a sudden they're doing bad, and then some event happens that scares them, and they go back to being good, and it's like they're just waffling back and forth, easily influenced. And I'm going to just go through one example today, and then I'll give way to my brothers. And this is in the 30th chapter of Alma again, and I started this morning in Sunday school, if you weren't there, talking about the privilege that we have to be there. And Brother Josh mentioned that as well, and it comes from this story or this account of, it calls him an antichrist. It's Korihor in the 30th chapter of Alma. And the beginning of this chapter, it talks about how there was continual peace in the land and everything's going well. Again, as often the Book of Mormon will start a chapter with saying, in this year there was peace, and in the next year there was peace. And then usually you get 2 or 3 years out and something happens. And he goes on and he talks about this Antichrist that began to preach against the prophecies of the prophet. And it makes a specific mention, and this is where the verse was that I shared this morning. It talks about how there was no law against this. Just as we are today, there's no law against preaching what you want to preach. I can get up here and I could say whatever I want to you, and there's no authority out there in the world that's going to come in and take me away for it. Well, maybe not completely true, but in general, there's no law against what you believe, right? And it goes on and says there was, laws against murder. If they were murdered, they were punished by death, and if they were robbed, they were also punished. If they stole, they were punished, and if they committed adultery, they were punished, and for all their wickedness, there was a punishment. And they'd be judged according to those crimes. But there was no punishment for believing in whatever you wanted to believe. So there's this man, his name's Korihor. Again, it reiterates the law could have no hold upon him. He began to preach unto the people that there should be no Christ. So this is, again, about 75 years before Christ would come. We know many of the prophets had preached and prophesied about his coming. And Korihor's mission here is to tell them it's all fake. None of it's real. These authority figures that you're listening to, they're misleading you. They're lying to you about these things. And it goes on and it lists out a lot of the things he's saying about how do you know that Christ has come? You have no way to prove that. You don't even have a way to prove there's a God. He goes on and he says, behold, it's an effect. So he's talking about those that are preaching to them. It's the effect of a frenzied mind and the derangement of your minds. He's saying these people that are telling you of this Christ that's going to come, that's going to save you, that's going to redeem you from your sins, all they're doing, they're deranged. Their mind is frenzied. They're crazy. All they're doing is trying to keep you from the truth, and that is that you can live your life the way you want. And he goes on and says, as we often do, and thus he did preach unto them, leading away the hearts of many, causing them to lift up their heads in their wickedness, yea, leading away many women and also men to commit whoredoms, telling them that when a man was dead, that was the end. So he's going around and he's telling them all these things that you're hearing about this Christ and this afterlife and salvation. It's all fake. And what do people do? It says many listened. How easily they were influenced, right, by this just one man spreading what we know, and they should have known, to be lies, not the truth. And when we think about, the silly example we did with the young people, but when we look at those objects, right, about how your grades matter more than anything, or about how maybe your job or your position matters more than anything, how much money you make, or what relationship you're in, or how you look or how you dress, or what social media tells you is the good thing, all of that is just lies. There's no truth in any of it. That doesn't mean that it's all fully evil. There's some good in some of those things, right? I could talk to our young people, the good that comes with being on a team, right? The camaraderie you feel with your teammates and the bond you have there, and that's a good life lesson to have. There's good in taking care of your body and making sure that you're healthy and can do the things that God has for you to do. There's a lot of good in those things, but for the most part, it's lies, because it wants you to believe that that's all that matters. It wants you to believe that that's what's important. And that's what Korihor is doing here to these people. He's telling them all these things that they need to believe. Stop worrying about God and Christ and the law and all those things, and worry about living your life the best you can and getting the most joy and satisfaction you can out of your own accord, out of your own wisdom, out of your own strength, and all of those type of things. And again, it says it led away many people from the truth. And it goes on, and there was a moment that it says, behold, there were many more that were wise among the Nephites, or many more in the Lamanites that were more wise than the Nephites. So there were those that understood the truth, they were grounded in it, and they were wise enough to kind of sniff this out, these lies. And it goes on in the rest of the story. They take him before the judge, and he kind of throws him out. He goes around spreading his misinformation again, and they grab him again. They bring him back to the judge, and there's kind of this trial, this questioning back and forth. And he doesn't back down, this man, this Antichrist. He keeps spreading his lies. He keeps telling the priest, you can't prove anything. Prove that I'm wrong. And there's a moment where he's going on and saying, all that you're doing is doing this stuff to gain something from it. He's saying that you would get labor from these people. You're trying to control them. You're trying to keep them in bondage. That you might benefit from your lies. And I love the message that Elma goes back at him with. And he says, well, first off, you know that's not true. You know enough to know that's not true. He said, we haven't received any money from any of this. We haven't received any free labor. And he says now, in the 34th verse, and now if we do not receive anything for our labors in the church, what doth it profit us to labor in the church? So what do we gain from this? What do we gain as the ministry, or the ones that teach you in your Sunday schools? What do we gain from trying to teach and spread the truth? When you're going out into the world and you're standing out trying to spread the truth, what do you gain from that? And it says, save it were to declare the truth. That's all that they gained from it, was that they could do the best they could to show people what the truth was, and to try to influence them to believe in what is good, to believe in what is true. Because when we get wrapped up in the lies of this world, when we allow ourselves, like, again, I said, we are influenced constantly. Whatever you are, wherever you are in life, you are being influenced by something, and it's either lies or it's truth. And if it's the lies that you're getting influenced by, all that you're going to do is end up in that bondage. And see, that was the irony maybe of this. Is Korihor, this man, is going around saying, well, you're trying to get these people to believe in Christ. You're trying to get them to focus on following the law and to do good. And you're keeping them in bondage. And you're gaining labor from all this. But it was the exact opposite. Because when we get wrapped up in those lies, when we allow the negative things of this world to influence us, all we're doing is allowing the evil one to enter in. And maybe it is just a little sliver here and there. Maybe it's just a thought here and there. But there's no good that can come from that. There's no good that can come from having your joy or your happiness or your hope or anything that you have relying on those things that our young people had on that table outside of the Bible, which I must say Maddie did a great job creating the Bible out of Play-Doh, which I don't think I've ever seen before. But it was interesting just thinking about all those ways that those things conform us and make us who we are. And for me, part of me, it scares me to think of our young people and how easy it is. You know, when we were your age, and this is the old man up in the rostrum now maybe, when we were your age, it wasn't that easy to get influenced by all those things. And we still had our influences, but we didn't have it right at our fingertips 24/7. And that's not just for our young people, it's for all of us. I mean, I can tell you that I do that. I'll open my phone just to check a couple things, and next thing I know, I'm distracted by something. Doesn't necessarily mean it was something evil, but now it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and that's an hour I could have been reading. It's an hour I could have been praying. It's an hour I could have been spending time with my family maybe. But I was allowing myself to get influenced by these things of this world, being held captive in bondage by those things, and how easy our minds can do that. And in the 8th chapter of John, I love the way Christ says this. He's talking about how they should know their Father. But he's talking about those that don't understand what he's saying. It says, ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He says he was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. How many times have we heard that said, either preached or taught before? He's the father of all lies. And so when we let those lies, those things of this world influence us and turn us away from what we know to be the truth, all we're doing is letting the evil one in. It's saying he's the father of it. It's all he wants to do. And the thing about him is he's good at it. He's very good at making these little half-truths seem like reality to you. He's good at knowing what is Brother Brian's weakness and how could I speak to him and maybe make him think something that's not quite the truth. And then next thing you know, you start to slip a little bit. And so what do we do as people of God, as the saints of God, those who have, as we've said, chosen to serve him, chosen to believe in him? We have that freedom to do that. And you have done it. I look around, you have chosen to believe in God today. I truly believe you wouldn't be here today. So what do? We have to fight those lies with the truth. And it can't be something that you just do in the moment. It has to be some preparation. We've heard that for many years now. Are we reading enough? Are we praying enough? Are we surrounding ourselves with the saints enough? It's one way to learn the truth. You know, I'll look at my mother and Sister Joy. You worked in banks, right? I was reading something. It was how they teach people to find counterfeit bills. And they don't show them the fake bills, money. They're not showing, well, see, this is what a fake $10 bill looks like, and this is what a counterfeit $50 bill looks like. It said that they study the real ones. They study the truth so well and so in depth that they can so easily spot the lie. That they're not looking for the lies around them. They are just grounding themselves in knowing this is what real looks like, this is what truth looks like, and the minute that a counterfeit bill comes across, they can see it, and they know that this isn't right. How much more should we be like that spiritually? Are we studying enough? Are we listening to the sermons? Are we paying attention in our Sunday schools? Are we surrounding ourselves with the saints? Are we meditating on the words of God? Are we praying and allowing his Spirit, that Holy Ghost that we have, to direct us enough to know the truth? That when the lies around us are trying to speak to us and trying to lead us off paths, that we can so easily say, I recognize that, because that's not what I know. That's not the truth. Your Brother Dan has been going through the Revelations in Sunday school. Which is one of the first things we do with Revelations. We compare it to the Scriptures. Does this hold up to the Scriptures? Does this hold up to what we know to be true? And so, brothers and sisters and friends, I ask you that this morning. Are you grounded enough in the truth to know what is right and what is wrong? To be able to spot the lies? To be able to make sure you're not influenced by the things that are trying to drag you further away from where you're supposed to be? Because in that, as we sang this morning, that's where your freedom comes. Your freedom doesn't come like horror thought and being out of all these laws and all these rules and living your life for yourself. It comes from being set free from the truth. And Christ says that in that same chapter, in the 8th chapter of John, a little bit earlier. He's talking to those that believed in him, just like I am today, talking to those that believe in him. And it says, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. It says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So brothers and sisters, ground yourself in the truth. If you find yourself wondering or not being able to tell the difference, pray about it. It sounds so simple, but it's everything we have. It says in the Scriptures to try the things around you. Try them to see if they be true or not. Ask God to reveal those things to you. Talk to your brothers and sisters, whoever it might be. Come to the ministry. We can help you. But I want you to know that we are always being influenced. Make sure you're being influenced by good. Make sure you're being influenced by the truth. Try to find those things in your life that might be leading you astray. And I know that God will bless us for that as a people, as a branch, and for each of us individually. That the more we ground ourselves in the truth and let that to free us from the world and from the things around us trying to influence us, that we'll find ourselves closer to God. So I guess I'm saying be like those that followed me with the raft. Maybe don't listen to the authority figures. Try it for yourself. Try it for yourself that God would speak to your heart and that each of us can find ourselves living the truth that He has for us. And that is that He sent His Son to die for you and that He loves you so much. It all comes down to that. We hear over and over again the two commandments, right? Love God and love others. I can tell you all of what He has for you boils down to that promise that He loves you, that He cares for you, and that He wants what's best for you. So allow that love to influence you in your lives. And I promise you, you'll be set free from, as we sang, all the guilt, all the shame, all the things that the world wants to heap on us. We'll be set free from that. So may God bless you this morning.
Korihor was he was pretty cunning. He was pretty smart. But as our brother said, he didn't have the truth. So ultimately, it didn't matter. There's a whole profession now of influencers, and the desire is to use a image to then sell a product. It's really all it comes down to. That anyone can project, and then in projecting and bringing, then there's value in that. There's value to companies. The value is essentially the community, the amount of people that look to this individual for some level of instruction. And it's nonsense. And I say that jokingly, but the reality is because there's no truth in it. What Korihor had, what he attempted to spread, there's no truth in it. There's no value. There's nothing. And so those that were influenced by him found out, unfortunately, there was no truth. We can spend hundreds of dollars. It's funny, my wife and I are having a conversation. My undergraduate degree in exercise science, I was more interested in the clinical side. There's a whole nother world that just fascinated me that I wanted nothing to do with as a participant other than just recreationally and enjoyment, the whole world of fitness. Especially where I went to school, we were talking about, there was a huge bodybuilding culture. And I had a conversation with one of my undergraduate professors one time. We were laughing about it, not the culture itself, but there was a big bodybuilding competition every year at Slippery Rock. And I think it was my sophomore year, the individual that won it, the next year, packaged his diet together, his competition-winning diet, and sold it to everyone. Because previous year, he was Mr. Slippery Rock. And so he had the credentials. Now it was genetics. It was his hard work. It wasn't the fact that he ate broccoli and rice and boiled chicken every day for 4 months. But enough people were drawn to his success, and there was probably a little truth in it, but the reality, Professor and I were joking because he was making money off of it at that point. That whole world exists in the bubble of let me project and show and sell. And that's what Korihor was doing. He was selling lies. I want to go to an influencer. In 2 Timothy. Call him a missionary. For today's purposes, let's call him an influencer. Paul. He had the truth. And he says something. Now, this is towards the end of his life. He knew his ministry was not going to exist any longer. And he's imparting something. Something really, really important. And it's truth. How many people were drawn to Paul? Imagine Paul today. He's got his own TikTok. He's making videos all the time. He's reaching people all over the world. That's what he was in his day. So he says, the 4th chapter, 2 Timothy, starting the 6th verse, he says, "For now I am ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand." He knew it wasn't long. He knew where his ministry was headed and where it would likely end. He says, "I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course, and I have kept the faith." Right? This is his final social media post. He's telling everyone, I'm going to be done soon. And he says, "Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at the last day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing." He's encouraging all his followers. He says, I have lived this life. And this is a life previously he told them, follow me, right? Follow my posts, subscribe, like my posts, as I follow Christ. Knowing that they were looking to him and wanting them to understand his truth. And so here he's telling them, henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. That he's telling them, the truth I have, everything I've lived, everything you have seen from me, I'm going to get a crown of righteousness. And all those that love his appearing will also receive that crown. But it's a choice. And it's a choice that's confirmed in the 3rd chapter of Revelations. The book of Revelation. Because that's a promise. Paul lived for that. He wrote his letters and his epistles, and he taught, and he had the truth. And the truth was Jesus Christ. And he confirmed that to his followers at that time by telling them, what I'm going to receive if you also follow after Christ is yours. But just like in the 30th chapter of Alma, it's a choice. And that's what it says in the 3rd chapter of Revelation. 11th verse. Speaking to the church of Philadelphia, he says, behold, I come quickly. And he tells them, hold fast which thou hast. And earlier, he tells them that they have the truth. That this church, in the book of Revelation, there's 7 churches. It spans east to west or west to east, I can't remember. But taking the churches and essentially giving a message to each of them. And he tells them, Church of Philadelphia that he's speaking to here, that they have the truth. Just like Paul did. And it's that same crown. It says, behold, I come quickly. Hold thou fast which thou hast. And he says, that no man take thy crown. That's the promise. Paul talked about it. He knew soon, according to the life that he lived, the truth that he had, that he would receive that crown. And he was telling his followers the same thing, that if they would hold fast to that truth, if they believed and had joy in the appearance of Christ, in the knowledge and the truth that he had proclaimed in his life, then they would receive it too. And it tells us here in the book of Revelation, that's true, but only if we make that choice. That's the truth. I have nothing more to offer than that truth. Paul said it. He said, I preach Christ. He didn't preach himself. He didn't preach anything other. It says that Jesus Christ and him crucified. And at the end, he tells them all, remember that. If you have joyed his appearing as I have, if you had followed me as I followed Christ, then the crown that I will receive, you also will receive. And that truth is to us today, that if we hold fast, the truth is, your value, your worth, is not wrapped up in this world. God doesn't see us as we see ourselves. Doesn't see others, thankfully, as we see them. But he sees the heart. He sees the desire. He sees the faith. The things that we can't see. That's what he looks to. That's what he desires of us. Things of this world don't matter. Paul never preached the value of the world that he lived in. He preached the value of living after Christ, of being like Christ. And because of that, he looked forward in faith to receiving that crown of righteousness. Each of us can do the same. When you want to look for direction, look to Paul's words. When you want understanding, read the words of Christ. When you want encouragement, follow after the truth. Follow after the gospel of Jesus Christ. Let that be your guide. Let that be what you look to, and nothing else. Because there's no truth in anything else. This life is short. It's full of many, many things. Yet, one thing I know, that Jesus Christ came. He lived, he taught, he died, he was crucified for my sins, and he resurrected. And on the power of that resurrection, the power that Christ has to raise himself from the dead, he can change lives. And that truth I hold on to so dearly. And I look to. And I pray each of us do. Let's look to those who influence us to good, after Christ, after righteousness, that we may hold fast to what we have, that the truth of Jesus Christ, that crown of righteousness, may never be taken from us. May God bless you this morning.
Enjoyed the message this morning, and all the different ways that we can be influenced. And our brothers outlined a good portion of that this morning. And I was thinking about our current day and our current situation. And it led me to the song that we're going to sing here in a moment as we transition. But I don't think there's any of us out there that enjoy the state of the world at this point. And I don't think there's any of us that find much hope in that. And yet I know that if I read the scriptures, and if I look at the promises that are extended, those promises often also have some qualifications there. And I can look at the state of our country, and I can be influenced by leadership on both sides. I can say that although this person has this message, or this group has this message that's going to clean everything up, that's going to make everything right again, that it'll make our hearts turn back to the Lord. And yet I see, if I look closely in their message, I see things that are not consistent with the scriptures. And I know that in my heart, because I have read the promises, I know of the hope that's extended to us, that only through Jesus Christ will I find peace and hope in this life. I also know of the outcome of this country. And yes, it brings me some sadness. But I know that through that outcome comes a great blessing to the entire world. And so I can sit there and think, well, if I listen to this individual, if I follow this individual, if I follow this group, if I adhere to their what they're saying, then I know that everything will be turned back. But I know that that's not the case, because their message is not from the scriptures. And just as we heard this morning, in any revelation that is given, we tie it right back to what the scriptures say. And if it's not found there, I know that it is not of God and it is of man. And we have the ability to be that influence as well. That if you know the truth, and you proclaim the truth, and that others might find that hope and peace through you. And so this morning I want to, as we transition, let's turn to hymn number 97 and the Saints hymn. The Saints, I'm sorry.